So, the geniuses over in Hollywood, you know, in this era, they call the woke era, they've decided to make well, Paramount has decided to make a prequel series to the original movie Grease from the 70s. This is a movie I'm well acquainted with. I saw it at the drive-in, and a drive-in, if anybody's familiar with that construct. Yeah, I saw Grease. I don't know. I think I saw it at the drive-in. I could have saw it on TV. Grease was rated like PG back in the day. It was real heady stuff because they actually showed like, it was adults playing teenagers and shit, right? But you had a lot of, like sexual situations in the movie that, it just was heady stuff for the time. It was pretty tame by today's standard, and it was a great musical. It's a great American movie and shit. To be quite honest, okay? I like the fucking movie. I like film, right? I like, I used to like the craft of film and everything. All right, I'll leave it at that. I won't go any further and shit. But they've decided to make a woke prequel series to this, and it offends me, okay? Because Greece was set in the 50s, in the 19 fucking 50s, okay? Now I've told you guys that I'm Generation X, okay? So that makes my parents boomers, okay? Boomers and shit. Both of my parents were born in the 40s, okay? In the fucking 40s. I want to be honest and say that I'm against the diversity and alternative lifestyle in this fucking series. I don't think the series should exist at all. I don't think it should exist because it's an abomination and it's an affront to American history. All right, American history, even though they call it CRT these days, okay, in the woke era, and everything's flipped on its side. Yeah, that's critical race theory. Okay, that's what that shit means. Term was pioneered by a dick named Chris Rudolfo. He's an agent of chaos. And, smart people in the know who he is. They know that, anything he puts out is mostly bullshit. All right, but I am tired of this woke bullshit. Okay, I'm tired of feminism. This thing is awash in feminism. Okay, bullshit. Well, this is, I would call it white woman feminism and the trolling feminism that we know that we see every fucking day. All right, there's an agenda. Okay, and part of that agenda is trolling black people and shit. Way I feel. This way I feel about it personally. Trolling black people. Okay, fucking around. It's COINTELPRO, and we're canaries in the coal mine in our ethnic community. So that shit spills out into the across the supposed country, across the colonies. We have this fucking prequel. It looks like that girl series that was put out by that, I forget, that one racist chick that was also an offender. I can't remember her fucking name, but she an ugly bitch. She was talking back in the day. She was talking about her opinion about certain things, certain black celebrities. I can't remember her name. Shit, she did the show. She was responsible for the show Girls, and she's an ugly, trollish, impish. She looks like an orc of a white woman, and she has a Hollywood career. Anyway, that's not important right now. I just want to get out my disdain for this series and Paramount Plus in general. When I have nothing but disdain and shit, I'm gonna just go out there and just be honest and say that whoever created it, whoever the team that put this shit together should be flogged, should be publicly flogged with a cat of nine tails. Okay, that's how I feel about it. Shit is historically inaccurate. You cannot make a series set in the 50s, based on Grease anyway. You can make anything, right? They did a fucked up Archie show and shit that didn't make no goddamn sense on that now defunct CW channel. And then we have this shit. We have Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies and shit, okay? And they're a racially diverse group of people, women of color and, certain self-identifiers and shit, you got one female I don't know if she's Hispanic or anything, but she's kind of like built like a bombshell. But she's like a woman of color. You got the nerdy white girl, the liberal white girl. That should piss off girls that look like that. If I was a kind of nerdy looking white girl with some cat eye shades on, I'd be mad when I saw that. I'd be like thinking they was trolling me too. And you got an Asian girl in the 50s, right? You know, not saying they weren't here. They were, a lot of them were put in internment camps and shit. And they have close knit communities and shit, okay? Because they had to have that shit because it was the time of fucking Jim Crow. It was the time of fucking Jim Crow, and these people weren't tolerant of shit back then, and they wasn't pushing diversity. That's why you had the civil rights movement and shit. They was trying to, you know, get diversity and mix, intermingle with shit. The races, you know, especially black people, you know, being able to just go where they please and sit where they please on a goddamn bus and everything. And that came to, you know, that shit was happening for a minute, you know, culminating in the 60s. But in the 50s, man, ain't no fucking way. You know, there's a black girl. I don't think she's in the group or whatever, but they show a black girl there walking around by herself in the 50s in high school. You know, a black girl walking unaccompanied. And there's one black man and one black girl that I saw. There's no other black people in this shit. There's one black kid on the football team. He's probably gay. He's probably gay because the guy looks really like fragile and, you know, something's off with his facial expression. So he's probably gay. Okay? And the black girl, I don't know. I saw some scenes of her dancing with the white girls and shit. And that didn't make no fucking sense. You can go back and look at those historical tapes and shit. It's just as many white women out there throwing bricks and shit as white men. All right? I know it's a construct, okay? But it's just bullshit. This is feminism and shit. They don't create anything. They don't make anything. They just overwrite shit. Okay? They overwrite it. And they do it in a trolling fashion, and they call it diversity, inclusion, and all this crap. And I'm against it, okay? I think this show is an abomination. All right? Yeah. They got an Asians. You know what they used to call Asian people and shit? You know, they had that old stop the Asian hate thing, you know, a while back. It was laughable. But they used to call them slopes. You know, talking about their fucking flat foreheads and shit. That's what the white dudes used to be. White people used to be calling them and shit. And they was in internment camps. They had to end up getting they actually got reparations for that. You know? And ain't no way in hell no black woman, no black girl would be by herself in a predominantly white school in the 50s, walking around. You know what would happen to her? You know what they would do to her? Not to mention that one black kid I already mentioned, who's on the football team, a football team full of white dudes, and you got one black dude there. In one of the stills, I saw the black dude with a big ass shiner. Looked like somebody hit him in the head with a bat or something. And he was at a prom and shit. And he was smiling because he was in there with the white people and shit. And it didn't make no fucking sense. No fucking way. You know, I listened to my parents came from that time. And they'd tell you some stories, man. This shit don't make no fucking sense, man. The rise of the pink girls and shit. You know, Grease the series or whatever the fuck they call this shit. I forget. I'm not in front of my monitor right now. I think it's an abomination, man. I think it's disgusting. I hate modern feminism. You know, I hate that futurist female and all this bullshit, this fake, and I do mean fake with a capital FAKE, this fake celebration of the black womans and shit. The black womans. You know, I think in one of the stills you see the black female or that one female that's racially ambiguous that I don't know if she's Spanish or nothing. The only female that's actually built like the one that's kind of thick, she actually looks like she came from that era. She's just in the wrong place. She's displaced. You know, you think like they tripping on Asian people and shit and call them slopes and shit. And they calling us the N-word with the hard R. You know, obviously throwing rocks and abusing us. And that girl would definitely be sexually offended and shit, if you get my drift, on a massive level by those guys. And I can attest that my mother grew up in the South, and she's talking about gangs of, those men, those non-melanated men, driving around looking for girls to do that to. All right. I saw one where the racially ambiguous girl is slapping a white boy, like a classic, like Biff from Back to the Future looking guy. Yeah, she's like slapping him and shit. I'm like, that wouldn't even happen because he would get her fucking ass. She would be fucked. Okay, she'd be fucked, man. She'll be a marked woman. She would have to leave town and shit because they would drive over to her house probably in the middle of the night and pick her up, or try to get in her house. Okay, Emmett Till anybody? Yeah, that's around that fucking time that this shit occurs. You want to tell me they had a racially diverse school where nobody was trying to kill, the people? And I used to live in, like I said, I lived on the West Coast for a while. And even back in the 90s and the part of the 2000s, they used to have these massive race riots at these high schools with the Spanish and the black people fighting each other like for dominance. They're fighting like having some Lord of the Rings level shit. I'm not joking. Now we're looking at this shit. Now we're looking at feminism on the march. They have no respect for anything. They're making a series that's a prequel to a 1977 classic, Grease. All right, and they're not stopping there and shit. Recently there's been rumors that Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, would be replaced by a British woman. Who would also call herself Indiana Jones and even have the audacity to wear his hat, the man's actual fucking hat, going forward. I don't know if that's still going to happen, but, I'm just lethargic at this point. And I find this shit offensive. And I'm going to reiterate that I think that the showrunners, the people that created this, the feminists and the trolls, the liberal trolls, and fuck y'all, and fuck everything you stand for and shit, especially since I'm a parent and shit. And I want my kid, I'm going to have to homeschool my fucking kid with this bullshit. Okay? We're going to reiterate. The people that made this series, they should be publicly flogged. Flogged, I say.